she became Christian, right? But I seen my grandma and my mama fighting all the time. And my grandmama always used to tell my mama, you've changed because this is not how I raised you. You know what I mean? So it goes deep, man. Like a lot, the cognitive dissonance is thick. I just want to thank you, Rod. I want to thank you too, Sonetta, for having individuals like Rod spitting this knowledge because everybody's, most people are waking up. A lot of people are waking up and we're almost hitting that critical mass number. You know what I mean? And again, Rod, shout outs to you. Salute. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and basically, you definitely answered my question. I don't know if you remember last time you was on Unscrambled Minds. I tried to get at you, but these ladies went crazy when I started talking. I started talking about Jean-Francois Marcandal, which is which is one of our revolutionaries that kind of, I'm not gonna say he kick-started everything, but at the end of the day, I had came on that panel to kind of emphasize the role that women have had in our Revolutionary War, in the way we got our freedom. The
No,
women was a great was like a great point of start for us because it was the women that were close to the slave masters, and that's how the poisoning started to happen and all that stuff, right? And I was trying to
right?
throw that in, but that whole panel went nuts once I started talking, and I guess and what I
Okay,
said when I started
let me
talking.
touch on this. So I've been working with direct descendants of the founders of the Haitian Revolution. That's
Yes, sir.
Toussaint, who is Divine
Look
Insight,
at you. Yes.
and Duddy Bookman, we call him Marisha Stone,
Yes,
and
sir.
um, Rising Phoenix, that's my chief of staff, and the one who gave her
Abdul Jamal
literal
Rashad.
blood life for the Haitian Revolution, Christina, and they other sister. So I've been working with the descendants because you got to have the people who opened the conjure to close it. And the people I've been working with has been systematically doing their work. So I had to work with them in order to continue the closing of that conjure. Therese finished it off, Rising Phoenix, because the last thing that they did after the revolution was won was send troops to Florida and send priestesses and priests to New Orleans to reinforce the conjure over here to allow us to be able to be redeemed from our oppression. They came to aid and assist their brothers. Those sisters, they was antagonistic to you because they experienced people push the religious doctrine of the church under the guise of being Haitian. And so they don't know the importance and the relevance that Haiti have to the entire liberation of Turtle Island. But when they get the reward, when they start sending all of these children to Haiti back with bearing gifts for the homeland, then they're gonna understand it. But until then, you wasting your breath if they don't know the culture of the people from the island. And Big Mama gonna send all of the children back home to help rebuild Haiti with gifts. It's just the way it goes. That's how it is. Haiti is important, and it's more important than most of us realize at the moment.
All right. We're moving on. We're moving on. I need y'all to
Thanks,
turn
Rod.
on
Thanks, Rod.
cameras. Turn on cameras. Brother Lie. Turn on cameras, brother. It's just a show of respect. Turn on cameras, brother. We are not talking to no ghost, brother Lie. Come on. Come on, calling on brother Lie to turn on cameras.
Son
Calling
of
on brother Lie. Let's deal
son
with
of
Elijah Apple. What's up? What's up, brother Lie?
I actually do I
You in
really
the
have to
bed,
turn
brother?
on
You in the
camera?
bed?
Yes, man. I'm relaxing, man.
Okay, you maxing and relaxing. All right, brother Lie is
Yeah.
maxing and relaxing. You go right after Elijah Apple. Elijah, what it is, man? Unmute yourself.
APPLE, sir. What's going on with you, man?
All right,
How
what's
you
up,
doing?
man? Good. What's
Not
happening?
much. I got a question for Mr. Chief. I was want to go back when you were saying about America is the new Roman Empire, as well as can you hear me good?
I
Yes,
can
we
hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay. And I've been doing my research a lot. You can call me the spook who sat by the door. I'm a Kohen. You know what I'm saying to you? A Kohen is a Kohen, which basically is a high priest through bloodline DNA.
I'm with you. With you.
So So I've been studying my background and stuff. It's very interesting. So I'd like to get into this Greek and Egyptian thing. I'm also start off from Egyptian before I went to Hebrew or Israel. You said that the United States is being ruled by the Catholics, but basically by the Romans, which is the new Roman Empire. And this is a question I would like to ask. When the Greeks came to Egypt, and they started learning all the things that Egypt knew. What made Egypt fall to the Greeks, or shall I say, how did the Greeks? I'm being rhetorical. It is no the answer, but still, I would like for you to explain it. How did the Greeks take the identity of the Egyptians or Kemet and place it as their own, and all of a sudden Egypt or Kemet start to fail or fall or start losing their mind?
So what's taking place is the temple priests are removing the power from Kemet,
How?
or else it would have never failed by taking the knowledge of how to rule the area with higher knowledge. They
How?
train.
I hear what you're saying, sir. I just wanted to give me. I would like to for you to tell me the how. I understand the process, yet how? I understand they took the power. How?
They was assisted by the temple priests.
Mm,
That's how it was given to them. They didn't take jack shit. Excuse my language. They didn't take nothing. All this was orchestrated by a priesthood.
mm-hmm. You right about that.
Yeah,
I'm listening.
it's the whole thing is orchestrated. The moon priests is the ones who ran the Roman Empire. They were the ones who brought the Achaean priests down in Greece and took over the Greco-Roman systems.
Mm-hmm.
It was given to them. They didn't take over.
Mm-hmm. It was given, but okay. You say it was given to them.
Right.
Mm.
So the newest addition to the human family tree is those pale faces of Europe. They're
Mm-hmm.
the only ones who had never had the opportunity to rule nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Before the close of the age, everybody had to have a right to rule in order to determine the level of civilized that they are. When the European was being propped up as the rulers of the world, they wasn't running and they still don't run nothing. This is being done by melanated faces behind the scenes that we call Zionist Jews. That's who running the
Mm.
show. The pale
Uh,
faces, the cat's paw. They was propped up as the leadership in order for us to never know who the enemy was.
this is what I discovered, and you probably can piggyback off of it. What I discovered is the Greeks paid attention so much to the Egyptians, or should I say the Kemet. They didn't understand their language quite, but they became their slaves, or should I say volunteer indigenous slaves, or whatever you want to call it. As well as they started learning their ways, their culture. But this is the part that, to me, how Kemet fell, they started labeling them. Once they started labeling them, Kemet started to believe they was that label. You know how people call us black people or African American. Once they
Yep.
started labeling them, that's when all of a sudden, do years and of course do bumping uglies, aka having sex. And when we get the grandchildren and the great grandchildren, you start the grandchildren thinking that's their name by the label. And when the Greeks start labeling Kemet, the next generation, generation after that, Kemet people started to believe that that's who they were. Once they start believing that's who they were, then that's when the Egyptians came and started taking over who they really are. So when I say that, how did the Greeks took over Kemet and how did Kemet fall? The way I look at it is the person who's analyzing the person don't know what he's doing or don't know what how their culture is. They start labeling. Once they start labeling, if the people Next generation don't know who they are originally. They start believing in that label. When they start believing in that label, then that's when they start to fall. And the ones who fall, they're the one who becomes slaves. And the ones who did the labeling, they're the one who becomes kings. And they keep on going on through generations from the Egyptians to the Greeks. I can keep on going on in history. But a question though, when you said the Romans is ruling America, or this is the Roman Empire, how was that, sir? And I'm
You know
not
what?
debating. I just want to pick your mind.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some background. You know where Washington D.C. is, right? The land of the seven hills. You know, before it was called Washington D.C., what it was named? It was named Rome, right? The place was picked for a very specific purpose because it was supposed to be an embassy for Rome. The White House is Casablanca, and Casablanca go back to the White Temple in Kemet, which is the bank, Big Mama Bank. The Pope is masquerading as Big Mama, but he can't sit on her seat. So he sit his seat under her seat. And Jacob undermined Esau. The underminer undermined the earthborn, the Adama. So the it's all in our face, behind our back. But Rome is the commissioners of the church of the royal families. The Pope crowned the kings and queens. That the Pope is being crowned by blackamoors. And if you don't believe me, just Google Pope kissing their feet. They own the Pope, but the Pope is uh, the CEO of the corporation that's running everything. The Washington D.C. is a federal corporation, and the stakeholders was Buckingham Palace and the Vatican. The Vatican is called prime stakeholder. That means they own the biggest share of the corporation that's masquerading as our government. All of the police are chartered out of London. All of the priests are chartered out of Rome. Whether they Baptist, Pentecostal, Presbyterian, when they do that 501c3 ministry exempt, that's their allegiance to Rome in order for them to be exempt from taxes. Rome will not tax his own. So you have to register under their corporate fiction as an agent of the church in order to have a priest functioning in tax exempt status on the land. That's how Rome is the continuation in America. Can I answer your question, brother?
Yes, you did. I thank you very much. One small thing, and I'm about to be out. I was talking to a
You went quiet. Did you mute?
Nah, brother. We got a lot of people. I got to move forward. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Brother Lai is in the building. What up, brother Lai?
Peace and blessings to everybody on the panel. Peace. Good evening.
Peace, brother.
Okay, somewhat to piggyback off of the question that was just asked to the brother in regards for the United States. The question I have for you, Rod, is this: what would be your stance on the new Northern American Free Trade Agreement between Canada as well as Mexico? Now, with that being the case, as you being an indigenous person, what would be your view on the president of Mexico, which has Israel backing, and the president of Mexico being from Israel, and the president from Canada allegedly supposing to be the son of Fidel Castro?
Woo! Heavy question.
Let me start right here. Everything they use to usurp us, We got a right to use it to come up. It don't matter what they tried with NAFTA. It don't matter what they tried with FEMA. It don't matter what they try anywhere in a swamp splushed arena. Everything that they had planned to use against us, the Global 2000 Report World Reduction, the Readiness Exercise 1984, round up the chiefs, right? And the COINTELPRO, stop their leader from rising up to tell them what's going on. Everything that they used became tools for us to navigate around their BS until we can get to a place where we can reclaim what's rightfully ours. As far as the presidents of them countries, I mean, them puppets, flat out puppets. They figureheads. They just been propped up to look like they important to regular people, so the regular people don't know that they mama and they daddy the most important people in their life if they doing what's right. Them people don't mean nothing to me. Like I tell people all the time, I don't care about Trump one way or the other. I just know what his assignment is to make the announcement that the indigenous people then reclaimed America and that is the corporation has been closed. Right? That's all I care about. I don't care about whether Kamala is representing the whore of Babylon or she's gonna fail miserably on purpose. That don't matter to me. But I have to make note of it to the people that's watching so they know what they're looking at. They playing out the prophetic narrative in a theatrical performance called politics. This is all Roman Colosseum design, since we was talking about them earlier, right? All of these corporations are being systematically shut down and the government closed. 90% of the people still don't know the government been closed for 5 years. And they running around talking about electing the president of a dead corporation that's not going to come back to life no matter how many elections they have. And sooner or later, it's going to be revealed that they corporations are no longer and that the tribes have reclaimed the birthrights to the land because it's happening in real time. So that's what I think about Canada, Mexico, and America making the free trade agreement. We got free trade with them anyway. That's still Turtle Island. We don't need no contracts to tell us that we can trade with our cousins up north or our nephews down south. Ain't nobody tell me I can't go over my uncle house and take some gifts to him in Brazil. It's still Turtle Island.
Indeed, brother. But the premise of me asking the question, sir, is this. With the president, normally when a president is a presidency of a country, it
Mm-hmm.
normally derived from being a citizen from that country.
Yeah.
With that being the case, the president of Mexico, original land, and her family's land is Israel.
Okay. What that does in law, that voids out the original constitution when a foreigner take office. Now Mexico is forced into the position to negotiate with people like the Zapatista. Right? Now they can go and talk to those people and tell them that Big Mama home and they closing the corporation and we need y'all input for the new government. This is what can happen now. When a foreigner take office under a constitutional government, it immediately suspends the constitution to protect the nation from a coup, from an outside agency, which anybody that coming out of Israel in politics is a Mossad registered agent. So if that person came out of Israel and is occupying the highest office in the land in Mexico, that means that the Mossad secret agency has taken over Mexico. That's what they telling you, right? It ain't even no secret.
So
But
we're
they
not
ain't
going to make this up. Go ahead.
yeah, but they're not gonna talk about it on the news.
Right. Right.
right? But the world court already came out and gave their findings.
Mm.
They had one of the judges was assigned to tell us. He came out and told us, and we seen it. We just thought, oh, that's a nice little thing you just said, and kept going on about our business. Everything
Who's
that we be, everything that we be telling people, the people that's really telling them what's going on, they not being listened to. But the ones that's giving them misdirection and running David Copperfield tricks on them the ones they focus on.
mm.
And the ones that they can gossip about. Now, that's the biggest thing because we love gossip so much that anything that they can throw out there it's like throwing a bone for a dog to chase while you break into the house. You know, we chase
Yeah.
the gossip to our own detriment.
Mm.
Look, the people that need to be worried about their own self liberation know more about Puffy Case than they know about the movement of the Federal Reserve.
That's so true.
They can tell you inside and out the whole of the Puffy Case, but they can't tell you that the tribe's been systematically doing step by step reclaiming of the land for the last 10 years and show you each step of the way where it was being done.
Mm-hmm.
And it was being done in everybody's face. They said we had a right to use our system, the oral tradition, to take everything back. So I've been using the oral tradition to systematically take everything back. And they've been giving Empress Redbird all the receipts. The foundational documents in which the fraud is built on in order to use the fruit of the poison tree doctrine, all of the ones that follow are also null and void. So they gave her the paperwork, right? Sending good vibes to Empress Redbird, by the way. She in seclusion right now. So but she watch you, she love your show. And yeah, so I told her I was talk to you about getting her on here one day.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. People been telling me about her as well. Yes.
Yeah,
And
she's very important to the land because okay, so people know about allodial titles, but what they don't know is the tribes never needed a title. That's European in origin. So when the Europeans staked the claim over here, the king of England, the king of France, and the king of Spain signed off on allodial contracts, which is allotted by royal families to the lords. The lords become the landlords, the land barons.
okay.
Then the systematic way to keep you from ever striking out against them is to create a structure, and they give you what's called a property tax system. And they allow you to make it up to pay your own taxes on your own, and that way you don't feel like you being forced to pay for land that can't nobody buy or sell.
Mm.
You can only be appointed a portion of territory according to your capabilities to work the land. If you're not a farmer and you in the city talking about when we gonna get our land back, you're not finna go to no farm and do that hard ass work. Don't even worry about it.
Mm.
Plus, half of us gonna be wealthy, so you know how we gonna do. As soon as we get a job, as soon as we get some money, and we ain't going to work.
There you go. That's true.
We not going to work, especially when we in this victim mentality of post traumatic slave disorder.
Mm.
We actually hold more energy to the slave narrative, never knowing that they turned the story around from prisoners of war to servants of a master. And that's how you create a master race. But the master race ain't the ones that they telling you. They using decoys,
Mm.
deceivers, fall guys, crash dummies, stunt dummies. They supposed to take the fall when we wake up because we supposed to be so groggy that everybody screaming kill Whitey think they talk about paleface. Whitey ain't even paleface. He a Moor, according to Black's Law Dictionary,
Yeah.
right? So if the white man is a Moor, who the black man? A Maru? They look alike, but they ain't the same.
Okay.
George Washington challenge in 200 years, you won't know what side of the water you belong to. I know
Mm.
exactly what side of the water I belong to. I'm Mississippi clay dirt walking, organic to the land, sprang from the land like a tree.
Autogenous. Yes.
Been here from the beginning, gonna be here to the end.
Mhm.
So when all of these things is taking place across the land, we've been taught to follow the what's called mainstream narrative because everybody knows it's easier to swim with the current than to go against it.
Absolutely.
But how you get to be a stronger swimmer is you swim against the current.
Mm. Mm.
You might struggle at first, but you're gonna get strong enough to swim against the current. That's the same as you standing there knowing the truth, trying to tell everybody that's thinking you crazy what the truth is, and they looking at you like you from somewhere else,
Right. Right.
right? And you just sound like a babbling idiot, but most people don't know that smart people sound crazy to dumb people. And you living in a system that requires them to use Skinner box technology and Pavlovian response systems to systematically dumb you down in education.
Mhm. Let
And
me ask you a
Chinese,
question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
You mentioned us being, what you say, prisoners of war.
Yes.
How did that come about? Please. I don't want to interrupt your thought, though. I can wait till you finish your thought.
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, so remember, they told us in history class that Columbus was looking for an alternative route to India,
Right.
and that's what they told us, right?
So this, yes.
The first problem is India didn't become India until the 1950s.
Mm.
It was Hindustan for hundreds of years before that.
Okay.
So what India is he looking for? So they are operating under what's called the white man's burden. We call it the doctrine of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
They are in exile following the French Revolution and the Spanish Inquisition, in which they exiled the Islamic Moors from Europe. The first place they exiled them to was Northern Africa, right? And they went to put ships together to do expeditions because they needed a homeland because they wasn't native nowhere, wasn't nowhere for them to go,
Okay.
right? So under the papal um, doctrine of discovery, the Pope first gave the Spanish conquistadors permission to settle the Americas,
Mm.
right? And this is Christopher Columbus was actually from the Cologne family, which is one of the secret black nobilities of Europe. That's actually melanated, nappy-head people. And they came over here to establish a home front for the so-called lost tribes of Israel in the Bible. But they
Oh,
made it up. It's all made up.
okay.
And is used for the application of military conquest. Okay, so now that the Spanish conquistadors is heading this way, Christopher Columbus is coming from Spain,
Hmm.
being funded by Isabella and Ferdinand. Remember?
Okay. Yes, yes, I remember that.
Okay, now remember what happened when he came back and told them about the Americas and all of that? And not too long after that, they got beheaded. That was part of the rebellion.
Oh.
They was looking for an alternative location to set up shop.
Mm.
The White House is Casablanca. So they used sigil magic in DC and established a White House, a Casablanca, in the on this land as an embassy. That's why DC is a 10 square mile enclave. It's not a city.
Okay.
It's a city state. It's separate from all of the rest of the stuff on the land. They don't got nothing to do with nobody outside of the 10 square miles of DC. But they
Mm.
tricked us with post office boxes because they use the postal zones are the grids for what's called the Plymouth crash. Remember Malcolm say we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Yes.
If you look up Plymouth Rock, it's to commemorate a crash down in the bay by DC, where the embassy at.
Mm.
Crash site, ground zero.
Wow.
And they came to the flag. Now they waged a war on us with the Spanish and the English gentry. These is your British nobles that's also being exiled and they still look like us. But they ain't us. They move up into New Jersey and upstate New York and gated communities and they talk about us like we are animals on the farm.
Mm. Wow.
The only time they associate with us is when they think we about to figure out who they is. They need to cause a rebellion and they come and incite us to riots,
Wow.
tribal conflicts between the different tribes, stuff like that. That's their job.
Mm.
It's told about by the FBI is what's called the FBI informant program,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also they had what's called the COINTELPRO infiltration program.
Yeah.
And they wasn't using pale faces to infiltrate our organizations. Most of us believe that the ADL and the JDL is pale-faced Jews. They just the cover story.
Okay.
The real Jews is what they call Zionist Jews, is Moorish Zionist Jews. Them the ones who fell out with Noble Drew Ali.
Okay.
That's why he had to leave New Jersey.
Mm.
So he set up the Moorish Science Temple and put codes all through the Circle 7, the Oral Statements and Prophecies.
Mm. Mm.
So when we read the material, it don't seem like this doesn't make sense for him to be who he was and this material be this elementary,
Right.
right? And what the ancestors say, 9 out of 10, the simplest answer is the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
So Elijah Muhammad said, make it plain enough for a baby to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you look back at his material, and then like, what would he be trying to get children to understand? We don't ask some type of questions when we studying because we too busy trying to be adept in the adept chambers and sound all important with a bunch of dogmatic words that don't mean nothing. But when you see past the charade and you realize how we move versus how they move, and you look back on history, it'll play out like you looking back on a video game or you hit rewind on a movie.
Mm.
You can go back, keep rewinding, keep looking at a situation. Hindsight is 2020 for a reason.
Right.
So we look to the past and know where we got to go for the future. When
Mm.
I look to the past, I was like, yeah, I don't want to repeat none of this BS that I see.
I know that's right.
So we gonna have to do something different for the future because I don't support none of the shackling the people. I don't
Mm.
support the rape campaign. Babies as human food and sex toys. I ain't with none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I know where it came from and I know who was behind it. That's why they call us sinners.
Why?
The Babylonian magic was written by a guy named Menachem.
Okay.
The ones who practice those ritual rites are called sinners.
Wow.
And every time they got these people doing communion, they participating in the rites of sin.
Mm-mm. 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 So once we became prisoners of war by what some people in the chat are calling dirty Moors,
They was the
um,
first ones come over here and they used the sweetheart swindle in the Jones plantation philosophy to trick us into thinking that somebody else was running the farm. So they married Big Mama and poisoned her. That's how they was able to enter into agreements because they inherited the land from their wife. We don't believe in selling land. This is how they always tell on themselves.
Mm.
Anybody that was selling land and he was over a large plot of land, he was one of them. He married the Big Mama. That's why they called it the Big House. They took her name off of it. It wasn't a plantation. Every clan had family farms.
Whoa, I
And
got
they come
chills.
in, yeah, and they come in. Um, Big Mamas was a lot of times single by 30 because they was married to some old geezer, 90, 80 years old,
Right, right.
right? And she might have 6, 8, 10 babies.
Mm-hmm.
They knew this. It could exploit the loneliness of the woman. It's the sweetheart swindle. It's the classic Valentine Day seduction.
Mm.
And once he get her to marry him, now he got the right to utilize the land however he see fit once he get rid of her when he poison her.
Mm.
Look, if they was poisoning the men chiefs uh with infected women and syphilis infected women and smallpox blankets, what make you think they wouldn't try to take over from the mothers? They can't get the land from the men because we already know that the land is the responsibility of the women. They don't the owners of the land.
I was just talking about that the other day, how under the matriarchal systems, the property passed down through the mother, and how that makes sense because she's going to take care of all her children. Doesn't matter who the father is. But
Yep.
when, when according to Marion Stone, who's an author, she said you can correct me though if I'm wrong. She said when the Aryans came out of the Caucasus Mountains, they decimated all the, and this is a Caucasian woman, European woman.
Mm-hmm.
They decimated all the female gods, and they started marrying the women in order to own the land of the woman and control the womb of the woman and her land. And then it makes sense then for the man to say, well, this is now my property, and the only children I'm going to take care of are the ones that
Oh
come from my
man,
law, right? So, but that's not how it used to be.
no,
Okay.
no. So the lands was allotted in portions of land, and most of the chiefs had a governable sized clan, but he still had a clan mother.
Okay. Okay.
And every chief had a clan mother that even if she put him out front to run stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he got to run it by her to make sure that he not doing something that is belligerent to the children or the planet.
Okay. Right. Right.
So the women is the council.
Mm-hmm.
They the ones who say, excuse me, is it
Bless.
beneficial or harmful to the children? But we
Mm.
can't do that if it's gonna hurt the babies.
Okay.
That makes sense because if it's gonna hurt the babies, it's gonna hurt the future,
Right. Right.
right?
Mm. Yeah.
So how is it gonna affect the earth? That's how they got to do all that mining under patriarchy.
Mm.
The
Oh.
strip mining was not allowed under the matriarchy. You had to do tunnel mining. And the
Okay.
tunnel mining was to make sure that you wasn't over extending the land's resource. And you're
Okay.
supposed to fill the tunnels back in, but people start living in them,
Mm.
and
Oh.
then they started using them for underground commerce because they found that the mine tunnels can go to another mine tunnel to another mine tunnel. Sometimes all you got to do is move 6 feet of wall and you're in a whole different mine network.
Wow.
And that was where you get your concept of underground railroad. It was train tracks under the ground, mining tracks.
Okay. Okay.
And most of the stories of the Underground Railroad is fabricated. They fa-
Mm.
They fabricated it in order to attach it to the slave narrative to give us some rebellious heroes that they can control our worship of.
Wow.
They celebrate the ones that they want us to acknowledge, and they bury the ones that they want us to forget.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we have History Month, History Month, Black History Month, don't nobody bring up Lucy Parsons,
Never heard of her.
most feared, the FBI's most feared black woman. She just so happened to be a Native American.
Okay.
They feared her because she had the genetic right to serve them eviction. She just didn't have a chief advisor that knew the old culture that could tell her what to, this is what you're missing. That's the same reason thing that happened with Empress Verdiasi.
Mm-hmm.
She was successful in they system. She won in their system, but they don't never honor nothing when we win in their system.
Right. She won about $85 quadrillion.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That was the accumulated value of all of the resources on the land and in the land.
Okay.
In the geography, remember they granted her 68,888 acres.
Mm.
Right? So all of that land, the resources in that land that they had stripped it of, they have to give it back to her. But they don't got it. They squandered the wealth. But the Pope was the one holding all of the resource.
Mm.
That's why Donald Trump had the first, he went and got the certificate from the White Dragon Society over in the Philippines, some damn where. Then he came back and then he had to show it to the military because now, under military control from the commander in chief, it's executionable as an act of war for them to resist giving us back our gold when we had a title to it.
Mm.
So the military, it moved in on the Vatican. Look, when they was raiding the Vatican, they was giving subtle reports about activities at the Vatican, but they would never say exactly what it was.
Wow. Okay.
Right? They took a whole bunch of bishops, like 80 bishops, they arrested out the gate. They mentioned it, but then they stopped. They didn't carry it on no more than a little article in the back page of the newspaper. That's big news.
Yeah, it is.
That should have been the headline across all major news networks, unless somebody that was trying to keep it a secret can control the news to that degree,
Mm.
right? And that was part of the CIA infiltration of the media. They got movies from the 50s about that. So what make you think they wouldn't be doing it now? And JFK told us they was using the media to control and take
Mm.
over. So if he didn't know what he was talking about, he must have been a prophet.
No wonder they wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of stuff. Remember, he also, the mafia was mad at him because his daddy made all them deals to get the mafia to use they underground connections to promote him as the next president.
Mm.
And they was instrumental in him getting in office. And the first thing he did when they went to ask for their favors is sick Robert on them. Get him, Bobby. And Bobby, he one of them brothers that when his brothers say get him, ain't no backing down, ain't no retreat. You should have never pissed my brother off. Because if you piss my brother off, that means you got a problem that both of us got to handle.
Right.
That's
Right.
why he was going at the mob like that.
Okay.
But he was also going at, see, the CIA got mob ties.
Mm.
And the mob ties was through George Herbert Walker Bush. You all trace back to the old man.
Mm.
Whether we go 9/11 route, trace back to World Trade Center and the controlling, he's a dirty player.
Mm.
That's why he was the first one Trump got rid of.
Mm.
And the second one was John McCain,
Okay.
right? The two biggest traders operating on the land. You got to remember, John McCain was the one gave up the position to the enemy, and they gave him a pardon for it.
Mm.
They were supposed to give him a bullet in the face, according to the military law. He was a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
Gave up the military positions to the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you supposed to die for that.
Mm.
What they do? Slap the badge on, honor on him, put his strong arm in a little sling, and sent him to D.C. Ain't nobody in D.C. like him, but they
Mm.
scared to say something to him because his marionette master, his Geppetto, that old
Mm.
man Bush, Geppetto.
Mm.
He put Obama in office.
Mm.
He created the Clinton, all them assets. Those was George Herbert Walker Bush assets,
I see. Mm.
right? Like if you go to the Behold a Pale Horse, he tell you about the Senate Select Committee that made him King George the First of the United States of America.
Mm.
So me, when I was locked up, I went and pulled the bill in the law library, and it said what
Okay.
he said. So I know he wasn't lying because it's in the bill,
Mm.
right? So once you read it, you can't be like, okay, well, I know this information, but what do I do with it? Right? You watch it play out and it expose itself.
Mm.
Now we just shining the light back down the dark corridors of the past so we can show you where it was all at.
Right. You mentioned "Behold the Pale Horse," and that just reminds me of what I saw, and I think you were trying to help me see that
Mm-hmm.
maybe I need a little more clarity when we saw Beyonce riding in on the white horse during the halftime of the games on Christmas. What was that symbolic of something?
Yeah. So the biblical reference for the pale horse is not the biblical reference for the white horse.
Okay. Okay.
The pale horse is gray in color.
Mm, I see.
When you go back to the original, the Greek word for it, it's kind of telling you that it's a grayish color,
Mm,
a pale gray.
okay.
The white horse, they say the one who sat on the white horse is called faithful and true.
Right.
In another place, it said, and the one that sat up on the white horse was given the keys to war and went about conquering and to conquer.
Mm,
Right, so they're not the same.
okay.
The one who sat up on the pale horse carries death.
Right.
Right, so death means absolute change. It don't always mean somebody got to die.
Okay.
It just means that the change is definite. It's a for sure change. It's
I
just like
see.
reading in the tarot card. Tarot really be trying to explain to people the devil card don't mean the devil. It mean in the physical world. But
Wow.
when you talk in the spiritual world, they give you the lovers instead.
Mm,
When you look at the cards, they mirror images of each other. One is above and one is below. Right? It's the same thing with the death card. Right? They tell you get the death card, people think somebody about to die. It don't mean death in the literal sense.
I see.
Right? It's oracle reading. Death means an absolute change. Something that was once vigorous in this form is no longer in that form. It don't exist no more. It's dead. When the caterpillar comes out of the cocoon, as the butterfly, the caterpillar self is dead.
Right.
But when you look in the cocoon, you can't find the caterpillar. You just see you just seen the butterfly come out. So now you're
Oh.
trying to figure out what happened to the caterpillar because he ain't there no more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Metamorphosis. It's
So
an
help me
absolute
understand.
change.
Okay. So help me understand. Can you make it clear for me what the symbolism of Beyonce it was riding on a white horse? Because I know they do things through codes.
Yeah. So in Mexico, it's called Jefe Blanco, the white
Okay.
boss.
Okay.
And Symbolism, she used in the Western style cultural symbolism. That means
Mm-hmm.
Southwest primary origin for the Western style of dress.
Okay.
And so she's telling us it's from the West comes a conqueror.
Okay.
I don't know what song she was singing, so I can't go into like how that tied to what she was doing.
Okay.
But the whole thing, if you notice, she came with a whole white army.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And you notice they've been having a lot of fog on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
big ass ship cloaked over there.